I want you to understand. This ain't a catastrophe. It's a warning.
Mixtape may be one of the best indicators of the degradation of both the gaming industry and the gaming community. The biggest hate toward Mixtape comes from the fact that it received an enormous amount of perfect scores from various reviewers and gaming outlets. Perfect scores it definitely did not deserve. For years now we've been dealing with the cinematicification of games in AAA sector. Some players dislike it, others support it. Sony games where you play for 15 minutes and then spend the next 20 listening to dialogue and watching cutscenes. Games from Telltale and David Cage where gameplay is merely an addition to the story, interrupted by QTEs and moral choices that don't always matter. All the way to games like Firewatch where you simply walk around and discover the world. And then we arrive at Mixtape, a game positioning itself as indie game where the deeper you get into it, the worse it becomes because it's a movie with a minimal amount of interaction positioning itself as a game. And honestly, if the game had released on phones or even received the now infamous 7 out of 10 scores, there wouldn't be a problem. But the industry has reached a bizarre point where this game is being treated like a 10 out of 10 work of art that deserves the title of a Game of the Year. Every gamer, especially my dear viewers, knows very well what advantage games have over other forms of pop culture. Through their mechanics, games are able to bring the player closer to the story being experienced. No matter how close to the screen you are, when watching a movie you are only a viewer. A game gives you possibility to be something more. When you shoot a zombie, you are the person who blew its head off before it reached your loved ones. Even in something like Telltale games, you feel like your decisions affect the plot, despite the fact that most of the time you are playing a completely linear game. Mixtape only works this way if you have absolutely no expectations or simply no awareness of how little the game actually needs you in order to progress. The mechanics feel like they were added only because at some point during development someone remembered that this was supposed to be a game, not a movie. God forbid you spill a tea on your desk during one of these interactive scenes. Of course, you can argue that a video game is by definition a type of computer software intended for entertainment or educational purposes. Which means Netflix is also a video game because you can install it as an application on your computer and use it for entertainment purposes. It also means that when I do my taxes in IRS app, it's also a video game because it's educational, right? I'd even say those interactive Netflix movies are more of a game than Mixtape because they contain mechanics that are more meaningful to the overall story. It reached such a bizarre level that people watching gameplay of Mixtape feel like they are pirating the game. And while I was watching Mixtape, I came across a very funny scene. There's a moment where you hit a baseball and a song called The Touch starts playing. Someone actually might feel nostalgia remembering it from the Transformers animated movie. They're able to make a connection with the game thinking, this game understands me, maybe not other people but me, they understand me. But even that scene they managed to ruin because a second later Roquefort explains exactly that to you like you're an idiot.
This is The Touch by Stan Bush, originally released in 1986 on the Transformers animated movie soundtrack.
What I'm getting at is that Mixtape works very poorly as a game, so any criticism focusing on that aspect is undeniable. Despite that, I also believe it doesn't take away anyone's right to enjoy this game or even consider it the best game they ever played. After all, there are tons of visual novels where the only mechanic is clicking through dialogue with occasional moral choices. The problem is that never before has a game like that been pushed as a game of the year, and what triggers me the most are the people who, in bad faith, try to undermine and mock criticism no matter how accurate it is. Claiming that you simply don't understand art, or that the game actually is perfect, it's just not for you, therefore you shouldn't speak about it. In recent years there has been strong polarization within the gaming community. For a long time on YouTube and other platforms, critical videos about popular topics performed very well. Shitting on The Witcher show, Rings of Power show, Veilguard, Assassin's Creed Shadow and other woke slop written and created by untalented people. That form of criticism was simple because it confirmed the feelings of the majority, which is why you could rack up a lot of views in a short amount of time. These are exactly the times I blame for what's happening now. The word grifter became more and more popular, originally meaning a scammer or con artist. In its new definition, it was apparently supposed to mean a person who builds their content around negative emotions, portraying games in a bad light even when they don't deserve it. That always surprised me, because to be a grifter you would actually have to lie. What you say would have to be false, said only to build views through negative emotions. But people who rightfully criticize, avowed, or spoke negatively about the questionable gameplay quality in Mixtape were called grifters too. Looking at social media now, you can simply point out details of the game that you dislike, or just express your opinion that you don't like a game, and you'll still get labeled as right-wing grifter who shouldn't be allowed to criticize anything. And that's exactly what happened with Mixtape, where a guy showed footage of gameplay where he didn't touch a controller and the game played itself, while other people in the replies reacted to it with anger, personally insulting him and not even the video that he posted. So I believe a much bigger problem than these alleged grifters are the people, from both sides by the way, who call people with different opinions regards, PDFs, and other horrible insults. Mixtape shows how there is less and less room in the gaming industry for healthy discussion, which is being pushed out by emotional people, calling everyone the most offensive slurs they can think of. And besides, while editing this video, I found an article on Metro UK saying that if you hate Mixtape, you are an extreme right-winger? I genuinely cannot believe journalists are so desperate to defend this game that anyone who speaks negatively about it automatically becomes an extremist right-winger. But I absolutely love the final part of the article, where the author additionally calls people criticizing Mixtape sexist, and then says the game has little gameplay in order to appeal to women. I know that there is no woman watching my channel, but how do you feel when a progressive journalist tells you that you need simple games because you don't know how to play? There is one very important ingredient behind all this success.
Secret ingredient is crime.
A crime against reason and human dignity, because it's worth knowing that the publisher is Annapurna Interactive, founded by Megan Ellison, the daughter of one of the richest people in the world. Keeping that in mind, I'll ask a few completely random questions. Who paid for sending expensive press kits to reviewers and creators? Who paid for licensed music, and not under ordinary terms, but with forever licenses that cost much more? Who paid for advertising this indie game on the Game Awards social channels? And finally, who boosted this game's scores into a stratosphere on sites like Metacritic? I don't know, but I can guess the answer. Especially because right after Mixtape released, I actually wanted to make a video about the IGN review, which I consider one of the worst reviews I have ever read. Not only does it give Mixtape a 10 out of 10, which according to IGN places Mixtape alongside games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, but also doesn't comment on any of the game's technical aspects even once, where the guy literally cannot say anything about the actual gameplay itself. He simply finds random story fragments and based on them gushes about what a wonderful and nostalgic story it is. Literally, in the review he writes, "I was born too late to be a teenager in the 90s. I grew up thousands of miles away from the schools of Northern California. I've barely stepped onto a skateboard outside of a couple's scraped knees in the summer of 2003. Thanks, Simon, but maybe in a review you could consider writing about the game itself, Simon." American reviewers could learn from Polish IGN, because out of curiosity I checked out the Polish review of Mixtape, and the Polish review absolutely destroys the international one. A guy called Wojtini divides his criticism into coherent sections that together create a full picture of the game. First he talks about the characters, then the quality of visuals and animations, gameplay, and finally the soundtrack, giving the game a fair 4 out of 10. With such explanation I could even accept a 5, 6 or 7. No, we are not doing that. But for reviewers on such a large scale to give this game the highest possible score? If Simon had been able to explain in a similar way why he gave this game a 10 out of 10, his review would definitely have received a far less deserved hate. Because reviewers should offer a more competent approach than "It reminds me of times I once enjoyed, but in hindsight wish I had held dearer in the moment." This is a sponsored fragment, so if you subscribe, you'll get a candy. Hooray! Thanks a lot. Mixtape fits perfectly into the term nostalgia bait, trying to do everything possible just to appeal to you, the player. Oh, remember cassette tapes? Cassette tapes are in our game! Too bad that even the cassette was designed incorrectly. The text is rotated the wrong way and the magnetic strip is missing. Lighters are still used to this day, right? And yet the developers didn't know that on a regular lighter you need to hold the button for the flame to stay lit. This feeling of nostalgia in Mixtape feels fabricated in a way that appeals most to people to whom that nostalgia doesn't even apply. As one Reddit user wrote, Mixtape is a game made by someone who didn't have friends, who really wished they had friends, and made this game on what they thought a friend group was like. Currently on Steam it costs $20 for around 3 hours of gameplay. Is this game worth its price? I don't know, judge for yourself. Definitely don't watch any gameplays because you will spoil this game for yourself. Supposedly it has mostly positive reviews, but when we sort the reviews by most helpful, the picture becomes completely different. Many players use this Steam page as a proof that normal players like this game, it's only us weirdos who don't like it. But it simply seems to me that after watching footage from the game, some people already knew they wouldn't like it, while others simply watched it on YouTube and had exactly the same experience as people who actually played it. Therefore, people who bought it would be only people who already like it. Am I forbidding you from having fun with this game? Yes, of course not. Am I claiming that Mixtape is a bland game for which so many perfect review scores are something highly suspicious? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm claiming. Although, considering the achievements of game reviewers, a game that plays itself sounds like the perfect product for them. Oh wait, the guy from the famous Cuphead tutorial commented on Mixtape. Apparently, he liked it very much. Mixtape shows that reviewers, developers, and sometimes even players themselves still do not understand what makes games unique and what the difference is between hate and criticism. The only thing missing is now Geoff walking onto the stage at the next Summer Game Fest and talking about how incredible this game supposedly is. I'm curious about your opinion on Mixtape. As always, the comments are yours and the likes are mine, so leave one under my video and I'll see you in the next material. For now, take care.